I was disappointed in Bibi just on a personal basis. When we have an election that it was a rigged election, like a third world country election, I think it's a terrible personal trait. I haven't spoken to him since, right? I didn't talk to him. I thought he wanted to make a deal more than Netanyahu. And I will be honest, I had a great meeting with him, Abbas, right? I had a great meeting with him, and we spent a lot of time together, talked about many things, and it was almost like a father. I mean, he was so nice. Couldn't have been nicer. And after meeting with Bibi for 3 minutes, I looked at him and said, "You don't want to make a deal, do you?" And he said, "Well, and the fact is, I don't think Bibi ever wanted to make a deal."
Why?
I thought the Palestinians were impossible, and the Israelis would do anything to make peace and a deal. I found that not to be true.
A lot to unpack there. Let's talk now to former Israeli ambassador to France, Daniel Shek. So a lot going on there. Let's start, first of all, with Trump's relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. That part of the recording where he says F him, that already came out 2 days ago and caused a lot of shock. But now we're seeing further revelations that show that it wasn't just maybe Netanyahu congratulating Joe Biden, but before that, Trump seemed to be frustrated with Netanyahu for not seeming to want to move forward with his peace plan with the Palestinians, even though it should be mentioned that Netanyahu, at least publicly, did endorse the Trump peace plan that he put forward with Jared Kushner.
I have news for you. Everything is personal. If he was disappointed before these revelations, he was very good at hiding it. He never showed any frustration with Benjamin Netanyahu until he deemed Netanyahu to have crossed the lines and become from the closest friends to the worst enemy. And that is something you have to take into account when your friend, your close friend, is a capricious, egocentrical narcissist. Then yes, the moment you do something to disappoint him, you cross over to the camp of his enemies. There's nothing in between. So yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu was quite clearly among world leaders probably the most loyal and the closest to Donald Trump. Suddenly, because of the fact, the half-truth, the non-truth, by the way, that Donald Trump said that he was among the first to congratulate.
That's not even true. He was criticized in Israel for not congratulating Biden fast enough in order to bring about the good relationship with the new administration.
But who cares about the truth? That was the way Donald Trump experienced it and thought that he felt, and that is the only thing that counts.
Right, it's certainly fascinating stuff, but let's go to the second part of that recording, which may be even more surprising than the first part, calling Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, almost a father figure after the Palestinian Authority cut off its ties almost completely from pretty much the start of the Trump administration. Once Donald Trump and his team recognized Jerusalem as the Israeli capital, they wanted nothing to do with Trump, and here he is praising him as being this incredible guy.
I don't know about the personal feelings that Donald Trump had towards Mahmoud Abbas. Maybe he felt that he's a father figure. That's a legitimate thing to say. I have certain issues with his assessment of the willingness of the two parties to go ahead for a peace agreement. I think about Netanyahu, he got it about right. I personally experienced the same feeling with Nicolas Sarkozy in 2009 and 10, at the very beginning of Netanyahu's premiership. Where he also felt that there were promises made by Netanyahu to move forward towards a peace agreement with the Palestinians.
Well, we know that Netanyahu is very cautious about this. He has many concerns.
I believe that he got it right with him, that Netanyahu didn't really want an agreement. Where I disagree with him is the assessment of the Palestinian side and of Mahmoud Abbas. I think they didn't want it either. And I think that if we have not moved forward on the Palestinian issue in the last few years, it's because of lack of political will on both sides, on the Israeli and the Palestinian side. But, you know, if he felt that he's a father figure, okay, good for him.
Jonathan, what do you make of that?
Just like all personal, because this is so to the contrary of what we thought of this relationship so far. Under the Trump administration, we thought that the American president and the Israeli prime minister, former, of course, Trump and Netanyahu, former president, former prime minister, are as close as possible. Now we're seeing that they're not. We thought that the American administration is completely biased against the Palestinians. According to what Trump says, probably not. Father figure, that's what he said, not me.
The thing that's really hard to understand here, and just really briefly, we have to go out to a break, is how he says that the Palestinians are more willing to reach a deal when they totally dismissed his proposal.
Because when one side disappoints you so much, like I'm not going to say Israel disappointed Trump, but Netanyahu disappointed Trump, then he takes all of his options to the other side.